Mods are quite common now, from the thousands to tens of thousands, with Minecraft, Skyrim, Gmod, along with classics like the original Doom and Half-Life. It's difficult to remember when mods for games were not around and something that you could easily install and play. Some of the most popular games ever made started as mods, being experimental game changes. The Warcraft 3 mod, called Dota, was one of the foundational mods to reshape the industry. It was already popular for its time, but full games have been created from it, such as League of Legends and Dota 2. From new genres to entire careers, video game modding has quietly transformed smaller modders or mod teams into creators and development teams. When did people start looking at games and see what they can tweak and change? But the bigger question is why. At its core, modding, meaning modifying, is exactly what this is: changing a video game after it's been released, which can mean a lot of things. Sometimes it's smaller things like fixing bugs, improving quality of life features, replacing a character model, or improving textures. Other times it's massive changes such as new stories, mechanics, or even building an entirely new game on top of the existing one. No matter the size of the modification, it takes quite a bit of time to create one, but they all started simple. From what I have found, sources vary a little bit when modding truly started, but one of the earliest instances of game modification was with Space War being one of the first games created. When it was distributed as testing software for new computers, university programmers had modified the game, introducing new gameplay and graphics. While other games afterward had the same type of thing happen in the very early days of games, and modding with more simple changes to the gameplay and graphics, including Missile Command, where a group of MIT students were running an arcade. The students had seen people beat Missile Command and got bored with it rather quickly, so they had modded it to be harder, which was a success, but it had gone too far and attempted to sell the modified copies, which Atari stepped in. Luckily, Atari did not take it to court, and things were handled outside of that, where they would have to get permission in the future, along with being hired to create mods for Atari as well. Modding had not seen its true potential until one of the first truly transformed games in 1981, with Castle Wolfenstein being modified to be Castle Smurfenstein, where all the enemies in the game were replaced with the 1980s cartoon characters, the Smurfs. With this being one of the more widely brought computer games on modern systems at that time, to be redistributed with that mod. But only a few years later, in 1993, the modding scene exploded with the original Doom game. id Studios, who had created the remake of Castle Wolfenstein, being Wolfenstein 3D, which had its own modding community, but id, knowing the complex nature of attempting to mod that game, they went through the process of separating the game engine from its assets, which was the level architecture, graphics, and audio, which were stored as a WAD file, being an acronym for Where's All the Data. While the game industry was evolving and going in the same overall direction of being more realistic, this was also done to make modding easier. As the game neared its release date, John Carmack had uploaded the source code and the utility programs to allow modders to create mods of Doom even before it was released. Modders within weeks had created map and level editing programs, but within a year, the Doom Editor utility was developed by a group of modders, making it much easier to create a Doom mod and the levels associated with it. Only a year or so after, another modder had created a tool to modify the .exe or executable file, making it even more customizable. In 1997, it had published Doom as open source, allowing massive amounts of creativity with Doom and its engine. Doomworld.com, being one of the oldest mod sites that's still running, where some of the most popular mods throughout the years can be found, but most are level expansions and not the full mod replacements and overhauls, such as Aliens TC or the newer Aliens The Ultimate Doom, where it had replaced most of the assets to be in the Alien universe with more of a survival horror theme similar to the movies. Memento Mori being one of the most well-known collaboration projects, including a new story, levels, music, and co-op, which is running off Doom 2. Strain being another very in-depth mod, with most things being replaced and having a cyberpunk aesthetic. As the years have gone on and the popularity of the original Doom still maintains a good following, and newer mods have gone even further, like Brutal Doom, which adds even more gore, enemies, along with increasing the combat intensity. What, did you really think I was going to be able to show that? Wait, is even this too much?
Wait!
Total Chaos completely changed the game to a survival horror with crafting that plays nothing like Doom, but something closer to Silent Hill. Also, Ashes 2063 completely changing the game to be similar to Fallout with exploration. There have been a crazy amount of mods with such good quality that going over everything could be its own video that is hours long, just with the original Doom games. After all the success of the original Doom games and leaving them to be open source, id moved on to making their next game, which is Quake, that was released in 1996. With the release of Quake, Valve had shortly after used mod tools to help create the first Half-Life game, but had also licensed the engine because of it being an official game to be sold. Half-Life became popular for what it did to first-person shooters with its campaign and how a story was told even through its gameplay. While the combat and puzzles were good for its time, they did not stand out substantially compared to the competitors. But because of the tools with this modified engine, it would not take long for modders to learn and make new mods, from Half-Life being Day of Defeat and Team Fortress, both released in 1999. More famously, the mod that later became a game, which has remained very popular up to today.
Let's go gambling! Aw, dang it. Aw, dang it. Oh my god!
With newer versions, is Counter-Strike that released in 2000, along with tons of other mods that have been born from Half-Life, including in the later years of Valve with them developing their own game engine called Source, where these mods with some of the original mod developers were officially hired in by Valve to make official Source engine releases. Other companies throughout the later 90s and early 2000s had developed tools to allow mods to be more easily created. The modding scene was always dominated by Doom and the original Half-Life, but Valve only further pushed that with the Source engine being released in 2004, where Counter-Strike Source released a few weeks before Half-Life 2 as a pre-order bonus on Steam. When Half-Life 2 released with the SDK, or Software Development Kit, allowed even more mods to be made, but unlike before, you had to either buy Counter-Strike or Half-Life 2 on Steam to get access to the SDK. Due to there being a paywall, that did slow down mods a little bit, but not by much, because of Half-Life 2 and Counter-Strike Source being good games with so much potential. Even in the early days of the Source engine, there were some great mods released, such as the most well-known and popular for many years being Garry's Mod, which is a sandbox game using the Half-Life 2 engine and assets, along with eventually including the assets of other Valve Source games as well. Garry's Mod allowed modders to also make custom assets and game modes for people to play, truly being one of the first games allowing modders to go wild and add more content than developers ever could, which was easier to access in and out of the game. Another very well-known early Source game mod was Minerva Metastasis, which is a short Half-Life 2 mod campaign with the quality comparable to Valve's work, along with Insurgency, Modern Infantry Combat being a total conversion mod, being a tactical and more realistic shooter, leading the modder to grow into a team and studio where they officially released the full successor game Insurgency, which was still made in the Source engine. Even with Valve's modding scene dominating compared to the competition, but back in 2002, even before the Source engine, with Blizzard's Warcraft 3 world editor, where it spawned one of the most acclaimed mods being Dota Defense of the Ancients and the MOBA multiplayer online battle arena genre. While other mods were created for that editor primarily being campaign related, they did not hold a candle to Dota. Throughout the years, other game toolkits were released, such as the Unreal Development Kit, or UDK, in 2009, along with Bethesda's first version of the Garden of Eden Creation Kit, or GECK, that was released with Fallout 3 and later New Vegas. While both the Unreal Development Kit and Garden of Eden Creation Kit were released for free and for non-commercial use, only the Fallout 3 and New Vegas mods have remained relevant because of those games still having a larger modding fan base and being played today. At the start of the 2010s, modding only continued to ramp up, starting with the release of one of the most well-known games in history being Minecraft in 2011, where modding exploded because of how open and flexible Minecraft could be tailored to different playstyles. Even during its early alpha and beta versions, hundreds of mods were being created for Minecraft, but after its release, only multiplied that number to thousands. Later, having several games that were either directly based on mods and/or servers, such as Vintage Story, which is a more difficult survival sandbox with eldritch horror themes. Another good example is the currently more well-known Hytale game based off the Hypixel modded Minecraft servers and all of the content from those, which is a RPG survival sandbox game. While other games are inspired by Minecraft mods like Factorio with the industrial and buildcraft mods, along with Satisfactory with the Tech It mod packs, along with a smaller game called Apico, inspired by the forestry beekeeping mod. Minecraft was only released days later, being November 18th, 2011, compared to the other massively modded game which is still played, being Skyrim, which was released on November 11th, 2011, where even before the official tools were released, modders had already created tools near immediately after the game was released. While the mods released for Skyrim have not been total conversion or massive changes in being more additions, changes and improvements have not stopped the modding scene from being one of the biggest because of how much can be expanded upon. Modding in games has only continued to expand and grow, from GTA 5, Fallout 4, The Sims 4, Arma 3, City Skylines, Stardew Valley, and Civilization 5, and that's just in the 2010s, let alone even more games now. There have been so many mod communities that have been spawned with popular releases, where a modding scene is always born out of it, even if it's not the easiest thing to do. But why do so many people flock to modding games? As mentioned previously, throughout the years, modding communities have existed since the very beginning, and the simple answer for it is creativity. While creativity may be the simple overall answer, it has deeper details buried within, from allowing someone or a group of people to change a game from the original intentions, expanding upon it, or looking at it from a different view, like a model or texture replacements. This breathes so much life into a game they already enjoyed and gives them a new experience for less work than making a completely new game. While it may not be free for those creating the mods because of the time required to gain the skills and tools, let alone the actual time itself to create it, they do not have to worry about whether they can make their money back because it's a hobby passion project that they do in their spare time and may get money from donations. While there are paid mods through websites and platforms, those are far less common. In turn, because of most mods being free and the barrier to entry for developing them and using them is never too difficult, only amplifying the amount of people that may contribute to that community. That is where the community truly grows and prospers, where with more people coming into it, that allows for cooperation to create or improve projects. With the potential of modding cooperation, that helps build reputations of a modder or modding team that may eventually lead them into creating a full-fledged game. Modding a game may just be the first step into a career. The culture of modding is widely dependent on the times that mods are developed, which could be high-definition graphic changes, realism, jokes, and tone from dark to lighthearted. Outside of time-related things, a consistent culture rule, while not typically spoken, which is giving credit, with respecting the permissions of people, no matter if they're another modder or someone using the mod and giving feedback, along with supporting the community. No matter who creates a mod, one of the biggest problems, especially for Nintendo fan modders, is the legality of mods. As mentioned before, it's rare for anyone to have to pay for a mod, which is for legal, moral, and ethical reasons, especially because of mods being a gray area. Mods technically are not hurting the games financially or reputation-wise, but if the company of the game wanted to go after a mod as they feel it's a threat of some kind, they can. That puts into question what mods people can create without possibly getting into legal trouble with companies that want nothing to do with modding, even though it promotes them in some way. But if companies are willing to shut down the mods that passionate fans have created, can make the modders along with others resentful of that company and that game, where they may lose people that are willing to buy their next game. It puts modding not just in a gray area, but an awkward spot for both companies and modders alike, where both sides could hurt that game they are passionate about in different ways. The only way to avoid that type of problem for the most part,
Brother, what's that?
is to have the company approve of the mod officially, and better yet, to make it a paid product. How does that shape the best for mods, and where the future is leading for modding? Some of the best mods got the blessing from the game company to be a paid product, but how did those mods get to that point? A large chunk of the most popular mods to become games were out of the Valve library, in particular Half-Life and its sequel, with a handful of others coming from games that were mods like Counter-Strike. The story of how all of those mods became games vary a lot, but the common point is either Valve themselves liking the game enough to hire the individuals who made the mod, or reaching out and making an agreement about an official release of some kind. No other game company has done this type of thing with modders, and it's quite rare for Valve to approach a mod to be sold as a game.
Brother,
Nearly all other mods to become their own dedicated games were not directly connected to the original game's trademark, and most had paid for the license for the engine they were using. Along with, if they were not paying out of pocket for development, then it was crowdfunded in some manner. As mentioned previously, Dota is one of the most well-known mods, which branched off into League of Legends and Dota 2, with some of the original developers of Dota splitting between each game. League of Legends development started in 2005 after the creation of Riot Games by Brandon Beck and Mark Murrell, who both were enthusiastic Dota players and had ideas to make a similar game which expanded upon the original idea of Dota, yet more simple for people to just jump in and play. Rather quickly, they pulled in two of the original creators, being Steve Jinsofik and Steve Pendragon Mescon, to work on the game. Due to the original mod's name being trademarked by Blizzard, the new studio could not use it or have the money to buy the name, so after some time in development, the final name was set to be League of Legends. The game released in 2009 under a similar free-to-play model, like what is seen today with cosmetic items being sold to keep the game funded and alive. In comparison, Dota 2 did not start any development until 2009 when Valve became interested in a sequel, where they began to reach out to one of the developers, IceFrog, shortly after hired them on as a developer along with Kyle Huel Sommer, who had created the original map and had signed off the rights to Valve. Valve had filed a trademark claim for the name Dota 2, but because of various legal issues surrounding that name, they had to go through court battles before the game was released to still use it. But in 2013, Dota 2 was officially released, and just like League of Legends, it was using a free-to-play model with cosmetics to keep the game funded and alive. Even years apart, with these follow-ups being direct sequels, only some of the original creators were included on each project. The original foundation of the mod is clear, with these games being even bigger and better than the mod developers likely could have imagined. The same can be said with the mod that brought more realistic strategy to the mainstream for FPS games, being Counter-Strike. Min Guzman Lee, being the original creator, already had been involved in other more tactical mods and wanted to create his own. Before production started with the release of Valve's Gold Source SDK in 1999, he got another person to help him with the mod, being Jesse Cliff. When production started, Lee eventually needed help getting more maps into the game, so he reached out to the Half-Life modding community and created a contest where the best maps would be included. As beta versions were released with new content, the popularity of the mod grew. After Lee started working at a game studio called Barking Dog Studios is where Valve stepped in and asked that company to help develop the mod into a more polished game where they would fund it and get the rights to the IP. The mod was shaping into a true game from that point forward and was getting closer to a full release. As more advanced betas were released, Lee and Valve had differences of how they wanted to develop the game, where he wanted to make a 2.0 sequel version, and Valve not having interest in that, so he left to make his own studio. Valve wanted to release it both as a mod of Half-Life and as a standalone title to test the waters of a multiplayer game like that. Due to legal issues such as weapon names needing to be changed, along with getting the rights to everything in the game such as map and textures, where certain things had to be removed due to lack of copyrights. In November of 2000, the mod was released as Half-Life Counter-Strike, but due to the mess that was development, until additional updates to the well-known Counter-Strike 1.6 version that was released on an open beta version of Steam, where it really found its audience. While it has been rather popular ever since its release, it has not had the nicest development, along with not having the best ending for the original creators involved in it. There are so many stories that can be told of how mods became games, which are often more messy and may not have the best outcomes for the original creators every time, but it shows the massive potential of a mod with those who are passionate about the ideas they have. With how mods have been and how they can grow into full games, where does the future of modding lead? The modding scene, while it has become more challenging because of the game industry changing over time, along with the complexities of new software and hardware, is still only growing. While modding larger AA or AAA games has been slowing over the last few years, modding in the smaller indie game scene has only continued to grow and reach out to games that many years ago may have not been treated to modding. That is because of the flexibility and standardization of game development tools, making it easier for modders to learn them even without direct modding tools in the game itself. As time goes on for a modded game, even if official tools are not offered, the community may go about making tools themselves, just further expanding on the potential modding community that is built around that game. With some games turning into platforms for creative expression and modding being the core focus, it slowly feels less like a side activity and more of a core aspect of video games. Modding began as a way to allow dedicated and enthusiastic players to tweak and change their favorite games to add new experiences, where it has only evolved, now growing into massive communities, while others even going further beyond into full developers for a dedicated game, turning from a hobby to a career. Modding has spawned new genres where without them that may have not happened or only occurred at a much later date. It has been made into a creative expression and participation that only makes it grow. At the end of it all, modding is not just about changing or adding something, but how it can impact others with those changes to something they enjoy. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. I very much appreciate it and hope you enjoyed it. While I am just doing this for a hobby, please let me know your thoughts and if you liked it by commenting, liking or disliking, and subscribing if you did, as that shows me where I can improve moving forward to my next video ramble. Hope to see you next time.